Hey folks, this is Dr. K. Since I forgot to record the first part of the Q&A, I'm just going to go over real fast for those of you who weren't at the Q&A. Some of the things we talked about, I basically just put up a bunch of student websites, specifically the ones related to the forms to let you know what I'm looking for. Somebody asked a question on Piazza about these forms. So really quickly, here's a website, the forms. I love the nice bold colors. The only thing is the form is a little wide. If I shrink it down to about there, I think probably that's a nice width. So probably this person should, maybe fix the width of this form to a little bit lower. I was saying this is this huge long submit button. You might also make this submit button more obvious. Kind of looks like the other fields on the forms. Okay, these are just some suggestions. I'm not really sure what I wrote in this person's project when I looked at this to grade. So these are just some suggestions off the top of my head. Um, this is a nice form. I like this form. It has a nice size to it. Uh, when I am concerned that, you know, when in doubt, just left align these form fields like this person did here. And if you're really unsure, if you're not, really into a specific kind of design, you might as well just make the form fields the same size so they're right aligned also. But the thing that I think is interesting about this form is you've got these form labels and they're centered. And usually I would say be wary of centering form labels when you're left aligning the fields. But actually, that looks pretty good. And I think one of the reasons it looks pretty good is because you've got this blue box outline here, and you've got, you can see that there's kind of equal space. You can tell these form fields are centered rather than just staggered. I think the only thing I commented about this one was, this month is a little bit indented, and there's a bunch of space between the month and the year, and that probably shouldn't be there. The submit button is decent. You can make that a little more prominent, but that's pretty good as it is right there. And again, these are just off the top of my heads. The other thing is I'm noticing now is this search field. You can see how this search field and this search icon, they're right next to each other, and it works. And one of the reasons it works is because you've got this straight line here. I've seen people try to put search fields and icons right next to each other when they both have rounded corners on 4 of the corners, and that doesn't work. If every corner is going to be rounded, then you need to separate the icon and from the field a little bit, and that's true in general. If you have rounded corners, things shouldn't be right up against each other. This one, I'm not sure. Okay, this one is just okay. This one is working. So let's see. I'm trying to remember what I said about some of this stuff. Oh yeah, this form field basically, here I would comment on the space here. There's probably too much spacing between that. Definitely want padding around everything, but there's just a little too much padding here. I would say you could probably shorten this form field. Whereas there should be padding here, and there's not. I mean, there should be padding between. Again, see this rounded corners thing? They're both rounded corners. Even if they weren't, I'd probably suggest putting padding between the month and the year there. And definitely on the button. Now, this button has problems because you can't even tell it's a submit button, and I think I did mention that in in my review of this page for the person. So that has to be fixed, but definitely wants more space here and less space here. Okay, so let's move on. This one is, this is the most common. The labels are right justified. The form fields are the same size. This looks really nice. For some reason, I don't know why this submit button, which I like the boldness of the submit button, it isn't quite aligned there. That may be an issue with the buttons in general, because it looks like everything else is aligned. But might want to think about trying to fix that a little bit. I'm not going to be too concerned about that. Excuse me. Now this isn't really about forms. This is about the cart page. These buttons, you can't have a button within a button. I mean, this read now button, except for the fact that it's red on green, and that's kind of irritating. Excuse me. This read now button is perfect. And the add to cart button should be similar to that. I mean, don't put a button inside of another button. That just doesn't look right. And also padding between this stuff. All this stuff is crammed together here. There's some other issues, but those are the main things I see right now. Again, search box right near the icon, straight line, that's fine. This is a very nice site, very nicely designed. Look at that. Look at those fonts. I love these fonts. I'm not sure what kind of font this is, but I adore these fonts. Great site design. Notice that the labels here are above the fields, and that's perfectly fine. I think that's a design choice, and it was the correct one. These fields, personally, I would probably make the fields a little longer, but you know what? I mean, I can type anything in there I need to, so I'm going to say that is fine. It's a very nicely designed site with good colors. Okay. This form here, again, the labels are above the fields. The fields seem, because of the line here, they seem a little washed out, kind of hard to read. You might consider bolding these lines here. The submit button's pretty large and blocky, but you know what? If you look at this category button here, it's a kids page, it's a kids website, bookstore website, and you got these big purple blocks and this big green block, and the big blue block kind of works there for me. So I think that's probably pretty good. I like you see that the month and the year are next to each other, but there is this little, I don't know if that's 5 pixels or 10 pixels up there, and that really seems to work. The only thing I'd say is probably the lines on the form, and if you're going to do the lines on the forms a little thicker, you probably go do the lines of that, but that's not a huge deal. I wouldn't take off for that or anything. Okay, anyway, that looks good to me. So I think this is the person who actually asked about the forms and the alignment. And this is just a beautiful site. I love this site. Just look at all the pages of the sites are very well designed. Because I can see that this person has a very good eye for design, I would suggest to this person to try a few things with alignment. Like maybe you can try, it's a really informal font, so the staggered fields aren't obscene or anything. They're not too bad. But I would suggest this person maybe try some different things, like maybe bring all the fields out, to about there and right align them and keep them staggered here. And if that doesn't work and this person tries a few different things, just write me a little note in your Canvas submission and say, hey, Dr. K, I tried a few things. Um, Nothing really worked for my eye. I came back to this, and because I can see that this person pays so much attention to design, I probably wouldn't take any points off for that. Yeah, it's a very beautiful site. And by the way, I encourage people to take a look at other people's sites. I mean, you can see the list on Piazza of names, and just type in the names with bookstore transact. The transact ones are up now, and I'll keep those up. But yeah, take a look at other people's sites, see how they designed it, and get an idea of what they did. I mean, you're not going to do any major changes now, but it might give you some inspiration to do some minor changes. This one here, it's nice and bold. The only thing with this form is I would say the submit button is kind of blends in with these dates. Oh, and we were going through this in the Q&A, and somebody brought up that I think, in fact, Dr. A, I think, brought up in that his supervisor was red-green colorblind, and this would not be good. Now, for me, I'm not colorblind, but this is kind of a little bit assaulting on my eyes. You've got the red on the green. Maybe if this was a lighter green, it wouldn't be so bad. But it was an interesting comment that I didn't think of. Somebody with red-green color blindness would probably have a lot of trouble reading this site. So keep stuff like that in mind. But yeah, you might make that like a lighter green, just in case somebody is red-green colorblind, they can see something dark on a light background. Anyway, and the submit button is kind of hidden here next to the expiration date. Now this one is kind of, I have some pet peeves about stuff going right up to the corner. I mean, as somebody said when we were going through this in the Q&A, just 10 pixels of padding can make a world of difference. You just need a little padding. You can't bring stuff right up against the corner of a. I mean, you can, but it's just kind of assaults people's design sense. You got to put a little padding around here. It just feels lazy if you don't. Again, here before the E also. Similar to how there's padding, you can see right underneath that submit button. That's perfect. That's the way it should be. But there should be that padding here, and this submit, the right side of this submit button should be aligned with the end of 2018, which should be aligned with all these other stuff. And you can see there's something weird's going on here. This credit card field is kind of offset. So I would encourage this person to fix that. Also here, I mean, you just need 10 pixels of padding underneath there, and you'll be just fine. Somebody also brought up when we were talking at the Q&A about the alignment issue. There is an alignment issue here. The header seems to be aligned with the footer, but the things inside here are not aligned with the header. And I'm not sure if that's because this part of the header isn't exactly centered or this isn't centered. My guess is it's with the header, but I'm not really sure. But I would encourage this person to try to fix that also. I might take a point off for that. And this is what I don't want to see. I mean, this is the font is nice, actually. I should say that, but I want padding between the fields. I want these fields left aligned. And we talked a little bit before about this person who had the labels center aligned, and I actually said it looks good. I think I think if you did the same thing here, I don't think it would look right if you kept these center lines. And the reason I say that is because there's no bounding box here. So if these fields were left aligned and these were center aligned, I don't think it would quite look right. So you'd probably either want to right align these or left aligned, or you could try putting a bounding box around that. Okay, and this is another one of those sites. This is just another beautiful, beautiful site. Amazing books. The design on this is just this is professional looking. Beautiful fonts, a beautiful just lightly shaded box here. A really have no complaints. A nice big submit button and a little return to cart button. The submit button is what you want people to hit, so that's in bold, and that's where your eye goes to. Yeah, just really nice site. You can see that you got a nice little splash screen. Yeah, just I encourage people to check out these sites. There's some really beautiful, beautiful sites there. I can't do justice to all of them. I can't show you all of them because there's 50 people. So I just want you to get an idea of what some other people are doing. Now, one thing about this site, this isn't about the forms, but one thing I noticed when I was just browsing through this site is these buttons here, these add to cart and read me buttons. It doesn't look bad when you have a wide book like this. I can tell right away that, this button goes with that book. But if I would shrink this up a little bit, look at this button right here. It's kind of almost the same distance from this title as it is from this title. And I mean, it doesn't take me long to figure out, yeah, it's got to go with this book, but it's just kind of a proximity thing. I wish there wasn't so much space here. And I was thinking that maybe one of the things this person might try is to move the add to cart and book buttons to the left of the book info and see if that works better. I'm not sure, but it just seems, or maybe just somehow get that button closer to the title. Although, you've probably got a bounding box that goes up to here, so that might be hard to do. But anyway, might want to experiment with that. Otherwise, this is a good looking site too. A lot of good looking sites here, and a lot of people that are just first timers. But here's another one. This one goes. I didn't put this bring this up for this reason, but I do notice that everything, the title and the name are just right up against that edge. Put a little padding there. That just will make everything easier. There is a little padding between these, but if you just put some padding all around, and even maybe actually I'm looking at this margin right here. If you just had that margin all the way down this book box, it would probably look a lot better. The left margin is usually more important than the right margin because, in English-speaking countries and Western countries, when we read from left to right, we tend to want to see the left alignment more than we want to see the right alignment. Other than that, okay. Oh, one of the things I liked about this was you click on the price to add to cart. That's kind of nice. Not everybody has done that. And in the next site, I went to this site and then I immediately went to this site and I'm thinking, wow, there's a price, and I want to click on that to add to cart. Now I love the bold icons and the bold colors here of this site, but man, I really want to click on that price. And I brought up in the Q&A, maybe this person should just remove the cart icon and use the price, and then somebody also said, well, maybe just be able to click on either one of these to add to cart, and that might be nice too. But I wouldn't take off for that, but that's just a suggestion. Nice site, very nice site. Now, let's see if I can add something to here just to see the cart. So this person, and this is fine. This person wanted to do some right justification, experimenting with right justification. I think that works better if you fix the width of your site. Like maybe that's like 1,000 pixels or something like that. If this person just fixed it at 1,000 pixels, so even if I expanded that, you'd still have everything centered at 1,000 pixels, because it kind of looks weird. Like I'm probably, I don't know, at 1,400 here or something like that, and this is way over here, and this is way over here. That looks kind of weird. There could probably be a little bit more padding here too. If I go to checkout, the same thing. This form is just, it just feels so far to the right. Maybe if you like expanded these, of course, these fields all need padding between them. It would be nice if the submit button was a little bit more prominent, because remember, that's what you want people to hit, submit. You want them to buy your books. Yeah, this needs to, be more separated probably. Padding all the way here. And if you're going to right justify, make sure it's aligned with this. You can see that it's not quite aligned, like that T goes beyond this here. So, you can experiment with that, but I would strongly suggest you kind of fix the width of that page. So, maybe this is not so bad, but, that starts looking a little silly. This is, I like this site. I like the fonts on this site, nice and bold, but this particular checkout thing, when I do this, it just, that just doesn't look right. On the other hand, if I do about this, that looks fine. So I think if you just put a bounding box around this, so that it didn't get any bigger than this, and you could kind of keep it left here, or you could keep it in the center. My preference would be center, but sometimes you just have to play with things and see what looks right. And that's pretty okay. We got one more. We got I talked about this site. Every time I come to Carl's Books, I see I look at this footer. It's not about the form. The form's fine. I have no complaints about the form, but the footer is just amazing. I think all these footers have links, and even though they just reload the page, it's fantastic, and accepted payments and all that. Love that footer. Anyway, so basically, and there's many more I could have gone through. Like I said, there are over 50 students in the class, have all got unique sites, and I think most of them are coming along just fantastic. And I encourage you to check these out. Just type in the name bookstore transact and then a slash with this in front, and it should get you to various sites. And I've seen people do this on Piazza before. People say, hey, check out my site, let me know what you think. Something like that. That's fine too. Okay, so I think that covers everything we covered in the Q&A. And any more questions, please ask on Piazza.